All right. Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is Dean Denny, also known as the Series 7 Guru, coming to you from my studio here in fabulous Las Vegas, joined by our always very special guest, the test geek himself, Brian Lee, managing member, Test Geek Exam Prep LLC. Tell us what series exam you're taking, where you're joining us from. We like to know where we don't. I don't think we've had anybody international yet, but maybe someday we'll get somebody international. We live stream every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Las Vegas time, Pacific time. So join us any Tuesdays. Share the test taking link with your friends, whoever you know who's in a similar situation. This is from Brian. Brian thinks that sometimes we get too carried away with fun and fellowship. And so he wants you to know that it's primarily about content, that we're here to help you with content on your exams. I'm joking. I'm teasing.
You're putting me under the bus. Huh?
I'm a big tease. I'll just take care of some housekeeping. If you do have a question for us, just put that in the frame of SIE or Series 7, the Q. That helps me pick it out of the chat, and it helps us because there's a lot of overlap on testable items and how they're tested dependent on the exam. So, sometimes we're struggling a little bit like, okay, are they taking this? Are they taking that? If you just tell us, that's helpful. The best free supplement to your paid study materials is my YouTube channel. The best paid supplement to that is Brian's YouTube. Oh, what's going on? Oh, there you go. Okay, I got it. No? Brian, you're froze. Am I frozen?
No, you're the best paid.
Oh, well, there you go. So if you want to buy a Kaplan Q-Bank as a paid supplement, I just put up, oh man, Sam, thank you so much. I don't know if you're out there, Sam. Sam, Brian, we did a 2.5 hour, it was almost 3 hours, shared screen Kaplan practice test. And he nailed it. And at the end, I said, listen, I'm going to comp you that last hour. And if you would be so kind as to give me permission to put that up on the channel, that would be great. I'll assume you send the video back to me that we'll do it. And that's up on the channel. And oh man, it is, I think it's pretty decent because we riff as we go through it. And good news, he did pass. We knew he was going to pass. Tomorrow, or Thursday, I'm premiering another shared screen practice final. This one, Brian, I was really surprised. I had a Raymond James student doing tutoring, and she loves the shared screen finals on the channel. She said, do you think you can do an STC one? I go, I asked him long ago, and I don't think so. I think they think of me as a Kaplan guy, even though I'm not a Kaplan employee, but I'll ask. And STC gave us permission to do that STC final and put it up there. So Thursday night, we're premiering that is me and Sydney going through an STC practice final. So, wow. So that's Kaplan 15% discount. Brian has been kind enough as the managing member to give us a 20% discount on all his products. He has full video courses as paid supplements. I think he's raised his prices, but with the Guru 20 discount code, I think all in is about $100, right in that range, right, Brian?
Right around there. Yep.
I think he has the best practice tests out there. And again, the practice test is $20. So if you just want his practice test as a PDF, you can do it on the channel, watch me do it. And I don't know if you're getting any nasty calls, Brian, but when people disagree with your questions, I simply tell them to take it up with Brian.
Are you still questions are correct? Because I don't
every once in a while they all right, I go, just call Brian. He's more than happy to talk to you. But anyways, I like his practice test. He also has a PDF. If you buy the video course, you get everything. So that's, I think, the better way to go. I understand not everybody has resources, but if you have resources, it is not a time to be frugal in terms of making your mark. If you miss our podcast, it's available on Spotify as a replay on both the YouTube channel and Spotify. If you're trying to find something in my channel, oh my God, please do not try and find a needle in a haystack. Go to your series playlist, and all the videos were organized in suggested watch order, and the playlists are in suggested watch order. It's buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. If you're looking for a particular topic, use the channel search bar. Put in like syndicate or margin, and then in that channel search bar, that particular topic will come up. That's the best way to use the channel. We do a drawing at the end of our sessions for a 30-minute coaching call. It's recorded, it's shared. You can share it. You can assign it to someone else. You can do whatever you want. I don't like having contingent liabilities. And I've had people call me 6 months later, where's my coaching call? No, you need to claim it within 1 hour of the drawing. And then you'll get the link for February 23rd, 3 p.m. That's when we do the coaching call. Okay, so let's see what we got in comments going on. Let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of the banner there. Comments. 65, man. Luis, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Luis. Brian and I have a guy I'm working with, Brian, and I'm with him. If you have no background, because sponsorship isn't necessary, I think Brian and I both think that's the most difficult exam for those folks who don't have a already pre-existing background in the securities industry. So we're with you in spirit, man. Just keep knocking it out. I think one reason to come to these live streams is to get some fellowship, get bucked up if you're having a bad day, particularly on that 65. 66 from New Jersey. All right, Michelle. Ryan, 65s. Lots of 65s, it looks like. Lots of 65. 63. I would say on the 63, Erica, treat it with respect, right? Oh, I'm glad my videos were helpful. I'm always glad when the videos contribute to testing victories like yours. So,
yeah, my cheat sheet.
Brian has been kind enough, Erica. I think I'm taking that as an offer. And if I'm correct in that, you might want to send Brian an email, Erica. He has a great cheat sheet. I don't like that he calls it a cheat sheet because I'm always afraid somebody's going to accidentally walk into the exam site with the cheat sheet and it says cheat sheet. But that being said, I use it a lot when tutoring. And so send that. I think that cheat sheet is good for 63, 65, 66. Right. Literally when I'm tutoring, Brian, I just say, here's you, right? You're in this part of the cheat sheet. You're here, you're here, you're here. There's the security. So boy, Erica, I would certainly take Brian up on that offer of his 63 cheat sheet.
If I may add.
Yeah.
This is the definition and registration of persons.
There you go.
Good for the 63, 65, and 66.
By the way, in the video replay, Erica, Brian also taught an evening class for us, and that's available as a replay, and it's been really popular. People find it very helpful. It's called Definition of Registrations. What's the title of that lecture, Brian?
Yeah, Definition and Registration.
Yeah, so I'll put that in the video replay and the video description for you as well, Erica. So that's a good video, by the way, for anybody taking, again, 63, 65, or 66. All right, back to our comments. That was there. By the way, Erica, thanks for joining us from LinkedIn. We broadcast to Facebook, LinkedIn last week. Unfortunately, we weren't on LinkedIn because I had some problem with the link. But we are usually broadcasting YouTube as our preferred platform, and we also broadcast the live stream to Twitter. I guess I got to start calling it X, even though that pains me to do so. Another LinkedIn. All right, Natalia. Very testable. So question about open-end and closed-end. Very, very testable. I have a beautiful lecture on that, and I'll post that in the video description as well. But here briefly, I will comment on that. Very testable on both the SIE, the 7, and even the 6 to a certain extent. Open-end funds, the major difference is open-end funds, Natalia, are continually offering new shares to the public. Whereas closed-end funds trade supply and demand. They do a one-time initial public offering. So the difference, the biggest testable difference, open-end continually offering new shares to the public, and closed-end trade supply and demand. By the way, you're doing business directly. You redeem open-end funds. You don't redeem closed-end funds. A closed-end fund could be trading at less than the NAV. Open fund never is going to be below the net asset value. You have to calculate the NAV once per business day. The max load is 8.5%. Closed-end funds can issue preferred stock and issue bonds. Open-end funds cannot. The X date in an open-end mutual fund is the day after the record. Closed-end, it's DERP. Anything you want to add to that, Brian?
No, that was pretty good for
live stream. And then remember, Natalia, I will link to 2 videos we're going to link to in the video description afterwards. Brian's replay for 63, 65, 66 definitions, Natalia, and I'll also link to my little video that goes through those differences. It has a beautiful slide. I think it's one of the most testable slides that I have anywhere on the channel, where it just literally shows you that. Hi, Dean and Brian. I'm taking the 66 Friday. Very nervous, feel unprepared. Oh, God, that's not a good place to be. What can we do to make you not nervous and feel prepared? Confidence is so important. I can manage to get high 70s, 80s. Well, gee, then why are you nervous and feeling unprepared? I don't know. What do I recommend? I don't know. A therapist. I'm joking, Sarah. I'm joking. I don't know. There's no reason for you to feel that. What do you think, Brian? She should feel pretty good, don't you?
I have been talking all week to folks who are scoring in the mid 70s, upper 70s, even in the low 80s, and I'm saying, you're good. Go take the test. Well, I'm not scheduled. Take the test tomorrow. You're ready. I got to talk them off the ledge. They're doing.
I'm hoping she's not listening. If she is, I will apologize in advance for putting your private business out there. But I told her, Brian, I'm not going to work with her any longer if she moves her date one more time because she's scoring 82, 83. Oh, Sarah, she tells me that she's memorized it. And when we're doing like shared screen finals, I go, well, I don't care if you memorized it. That's the right answer. So, I think she thinks she doesn't understand it, but she does. She gives me the right answer with the right rationale. And so
you can really tell, Dean, because they're always asking kind of the right questions. Some things that they may have some confusions with, they're asking about a particular content area, but they ask the right thing in the right way.
Yeah.
And you just know from that after 30 years of doing this, you're good, man. This guy, he asked me 3 times to do a tutoring. I said, I'd love to, but I'm not going to take your money.
Yeah.
Not necessary. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
And he was doing the same thing.
Well, I'm a little different. I'm more of a greedy bastard than you, Brian, because I said, I'll take your money one more time, but not if you don't test. I'm joking. So, Sarah, we just want to tell you, I will tell you, Sarah, I'm a tease, and I'm a tease to the extent I don't know when it's not funny any longer. But we would both tell you that you have no reason to feel nervous and feel unprepared. That's coming from 2 paid professionals with combined experience of, 60 years. I mean, makes me feel old. So we expect you to come back here next Tuesday with a testing victory and share it with us and get. That's what you get. We ring the bell for all those people who pass their test. Get the P. Yeah. From the frozen Big Apple. Is it cold in New York City today? Ooh. Welcome. I love New York.
I'll trade you your frozen Big Apple for a wet Emerald City. Yeah.
Brian has the best of both worlds. He's in the Northwest. I finally figured out, this way he's a good teacher, right? I will never mess this up again. I can never figure out if he's joining us from his place in Vegas or his place in the Northwest. He said, Dean, when you see my whiteboard and it's got wood on it, think Northwest timber. I go, got it. When you see aluminum, think Jazzy Vegas. I go, all right. Now I know where he's
at. You'll never forget.
63 advice from Erica. I used your videos for helping. Yeah, on the 63, Erica, I have a great video called The Mighty 90. Yeah. The Mighty 90. What I attempted to do, Brian, is teach the Uniform Securities Act in 90 minutes. And target rich, and I think people find it helpful. I also, Erica, I have a 63 and 60 minutes video. Both of those I highly recommend, no surprise. So I think I've told you we're going to link to Brian's definitions. I will link to the series 63 and 60 minutes. I tell you, it's not to teach anything. It's just to get you in the right frame of mind night before or morning of. And I'll link that Mighty 90. The Mighty 90 is one of my popular. Nico passed his 7. He's one of my all-time favorite test takers of late. Worked his butt off. Him and I did a practice shared screen final. We put it up on the channel. And again, you can just tell when somebody's going to make their mark. And so, Nico, you've been my favorite because I know how much dedication, discipline, and organization it takes to perform as well as you did on that practice test. We knew you're going to make your mark. And now rinse and repeat, Nico, you're a victorious test taker. So now you know whatever you did for your 7, you're going to do the same for your 66. And you're going to, get all this done. You're going to be matriculating, finally get to use these registrations to make some money. Hello, Mary bought your 66 videos. Woohoo! It's a great investment. All in $100. If anybody is able to distill the NASA potatoes into testable vodka, it is Brian.
Turning mashed potatoes into premium vodka.
Passes on the first try. That's the way to do it. I mean, I always love when people are resilient and they pass their test after meeting the initial misfortune of missing the mark. But the preferred way is to pass it the first time. So, yeah, kudos on that. Last Friday. Now working on the 66. You got the P.
The big P.
Your videos helped me with the SIE, and now you're taking 63. I'm glad. I have a very extensive SIE playlist. I have 3 SIE playlists. The first one is lectures. The second one is practice test and practice finals. And third one is a podcast series. So I say in the description for my SIE content, Brian, you could use my videos as your primary study material. Not suggested. It's a supplement, but I've had a couple of people say, Dean, I just use your videos. I go, I wish you wouldn't do that. You need to buy a book. Hello, Ivy. Hello, Ivy. Benita, good evening. I'll be taking the Series 6 on Saturday. Scoring 772. I want my score. We do too. Benita, you might be working too hard. I don't know if you are, and Saturday is imminent. But I wouldn't want you doing more than one practice final a day. And I think if you do one and remediate and keep it at that level, I think you can bump your score. So if you're testing Saturday, we got what? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We don't want you to wear yourself out on Friday. So maybe tomorrow morning, when you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, take another one, remediate. What do you think, Brian? I think
That's right. Now, remediation means using the performance tracker to identify which 2 or 3 areas are your lowest area and get back into the videos on those particular topics, use class notes, use custom quizzes on those weak areas. So evaluate, remediate, evaluate, remediate.
Yeah, we think, by the way, too, Benita, I would just tell you, even with the 70-72, I think there's more likely that you pass than you're not.
Yeah,
you would like to have a bigger margin of safety than that, but it's not like you're not going to pass. 66 from Illinois. All right, cool. Are you teaching live classes? I am, Nico. I'm teaching the 66 for Kaplan. Let me just tell you when I'm teaching the 66. I'm teaching a 66 for Kaplan I do it the 3rd month of each quarter. And so I'm teaching, for those of you who are taking the SIE, I'm teaching that SIE. I'm teaching that in April. I'm teaching a Series 7 in April, and I'm teaching a Series 7 this week. So I want to
You're tired, huh?
So, yeah, Brian teases me. My little gig on doing YouTube and tutoring has really become actually a full-time job. Nico, I'm doing it May 20th. May 20th. If you go to the Kaplan schedule, you should see yours truly listed. If not, it would be up there shortly. I'm having a hard time, 66, Michelle, understanding after-tax return. Well, it's kind of self-explanatory. Do you have a simple way to break down a question? I think Brian may. Brian, do you have a simple way to do that?
Can I do it in about a minute and a half?
I think you can. Are you asking or are you telling me?
There's a particular question. What series is this?
66.
Oh, okay. Again, with the 66, I'm going to tell you before I start all this.
Okay.
You might have one calculator question on the entire exam. That is so consistent. Everybody is saying 0, maybe 1.
So, Michelle, I want to comment too, Brian. Brian and I really do think that people put themselves at risk going down mathematical rabbit holes as it relates to 65, 66. We're not saying there's no math there, but if you miss your mark, we don't think it's going to be math. But people who are math phobic, they really get worked up about math. Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
That's okay. And I don't like to enable that math anxiety, because if there isn't that much math, then I'm not going to go down there and I'm not going to lead you down there.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked what exam, because I know this can be a calculator question on the 65. But real quick, okay? Oftentimes they will indicate the investment that they have received a dividend in the past year, and that the value is now at $10,005. and they'll say the guy's in the 30% tax bracket. Well, total return, of course, is income plus or minus the gain or loss divided by your original cost. Okay? However, because of this after-tax return, you have to know, where are we taxed? Right? Well, they never indicate that they have sold their investment. So this gain is not realized, therefore not taxed. Only the income is taxed. At 30%, that's $150. So after tax, they have $350 of income plus the $500 gain divided by the original cost. That's 8.5 divided by 10. That's kind of easy math. That's an 8.5% after-tax return.
I love it. Very good. So remember, I would add to that just there is no sales proceeds here, right? So
Correct.
Cost basis is pretty simple. Cost basis is simply when you turn the investment into money, or money into the investment, excuse me. And then Brian's point, unrealized means there's no sales proceeds there, but it's still part of your return presently as we speak, right? So I think that was a pretty good job, Brian.
Michelle, for the 65. I know on the 65, the numbers might be different, because I can't duplicate them.
I also would tell you too, as a test taker, Michelle, just make sure too that sometimes the hint on how to proceed is given in the question, right? So if it says after tax, you're going to have to deal some way with the taxes. Yeah. All right, love it, love it. Any tips for what to do when the test is less than 5 days? Don't want to burn out, but want to make sure I'm refreshed and up to date. So Brian and I both say 7 to 10 days out. So 5 is certainly in that category. You should start doing practice tests. So Ryan, if I were your, person who's working with you, I'm your corporate trainer. No, I'm not. But if I was, I'd say, Ryan, how many practice tests am I going to see over the next 5 days? As we said, no more than 1 a day. Right. So what are you going to commit to me? Am I going to see 3 more marks? We're not trying to learn. We're just trying to get a mark and see where, again, you need to do remediation. So I would expect maybe we could do 3, no more than 1 day, remediating using the performance tracker, as Brian said, and we'd want you in the mid-70s. If you have Brian's practice tests, which I think are the best, I would do his practice test. When people have your PDF file, Brian, I tell them to take that practice exam and put it away. Right. And I want them to do that the day before. So, not the morning of. They could, depending on how confident they are, to get that last mark. So that's what I would say. Brian, what would you say to our friend?
That's exactly right. That's it. It's a great question. It's a question that we deal with almost every single week, almost every day, actually, through emails. Rinse and repeat, right? Evaluate and remediate. So one day, because these things can take 3 hours.
That's right.
Depending on what your study schedule is. Some people don't have 3 hours, right? And then the following day, you remediate with the performance tracker, find those weak areas, use the videos, use the class notes, use your cheat sheets, and then repeat.
The other thing I would add, Ryan, is that you don't want to burn yourself out. I had a guy who said, I did 3 today. I go, total waste of time, because you don't get a real score on the 3rd or 2nd one. So your point about not burning yourself out, you got to really kind of pace yourself to the actual exam, right? So I would rather you do 3 rather than 4 if you're going to wear yourself out. And then in terms of burnout, make sure you're fresh the day before, right? You don't want to be working your butt off on the day before your exam. You maybe do some low-key stuff in the morning, read your notes, whatever you kind of do to put on your game face, a nice lunch or dinner, whatever. But that's really not about learning anymore. You can't cram for these tests the night before. And I've had so many people who have done that and has worked in college or wherever they're at, and now it doesn't work. I had a guy literally told me, Brian, he stayed up till like 2 a.m. studying the night before, which is stupid. Because I don't know about you, but my reading skills are greatly diminished when I'm tired. And
this is not in college, right? We are all guilty of
you got to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, right? So, greetings, Dean and Brian Lee. Thank you very much for what you do. I had a Kaplan Q Bank along with Brian and a little Dean in between. I like it. That sounds like a song. A little Dean and on the side. Passed the 7 last Monday. Woo! And thank you once again on to 66. I don't know why you would not want to take Brian and I's word about what you can encounter on a test, but when we have victorious test takers in the house, you can certainly ask them in chat. So if you want to ask Earth about what they experienced, now remember, every draw is mom is funny. That is my mom. Mom, I guess, is having fun with her Facebook and sees we're live. So hi, Mom. She's so funny. I'm thinking, Brian, in my retirement job here, I might have to hire Mom to start returning emails.
There you go.
Anyways, I like it. I like it. So 66, rinse and repeat. Get another victory. Get another victory. 65 on Brian's list of formulas in the paid supplement. Do you think those are the main ones? No. Well, I'm going to answer for him. Absolutely. You wouldn't put it in there. He doesn't put anything in his content that isn't testable. So, that's one thing I like about Brian. Sometimes test prep vendors give you stuff that, I always love, Brian, the rationale on a test prep vendor where they say, well, you won't encounter this on the class. We think it'd be good for you to know. So I'll defer to Brian. Brian, what do you say? Do you put anything on your content that you don't think they're going to encounter on a test?
Absolutely not. Mashed potatoes and the premium vodka, man.
Listen, Michelle, he even gives me grief when I go to answer somebody's question and it's not on the test.
What's on the test, how it most likely shows up on the test, and how you should answer it on the test. That's all I care about.
And Brian's the best at it, man, Michelle. So I would tell you don't need to ask Brian. If you have Brian's content, you can rest assured it is field tested, meaning it's not. Now I'm a little weak, Michelle. If somebody asks me a question, I'm willing to go down that road.
And just to be clear, on 65, the average feedback, 3 to 5 calculator questions on the 65. That's all.
So, Michelle, if you want to tell the difference in our split screen, when somebody asks a question and then I start answering it, and you can see Brian grimace, it means he knows that I'm answering a question that somebody's not going to see. But I still feel like enjoying it. Good evening. I'm in your Kaplan. Devon, thank you for participating. We got a great group. We have a great cohort we have, I think. We have over 50 people. I wish they'd cap those Kaplan classes because I promote them on social media. So, yeah, we're going to be back at it tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. So thanks for joining us on Friday.
Cheers to you.
Yeah, Brian's been using Brian's Test Geek site to get past. So Brian also, besides his paid supplement, he does have free content too on his YouTube channel.
On YouTube.
So yeah, check out Brian's free stuff as well. And I'll see Devon. I'll see you tomorrow morning. We got options tomorrow. Woohoo!
Yay!
Options.
Wednesday is options.
Take my 7 on Friday. I failed the first time by 1%. Oh, those high scores I just hate. I mean, when I take a test, I'd almost rather completely blow it than get close. But, nervous for the second time. Again, you shouldn't. I mean, 1%. I usually start by saying, Kellen, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Did you change answers? 1% I don't think means you didn't know it. It just means it's some other variable. We don't know what it is. You get a printout from FINRA if you fail. Use that printout for remediation. Go get the Series 7 test content outline and check that out. I have 5 recommendations for how to respond to this misfortune. And I will link in the video description to my video called You Failed. Is it over? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. And so then I proceed to tell you how you should respond. Yeah, Brian?
Dean, to your point, I talked to a gentleman last week who took a Series 7, missed it by 1%. I said, did you change a lot of test questions? And he said, about half.
Oh, my God. Brian, this is one of my pet peeves. So, Kellen, this person told me, this is just me, it frosts me. I mean, it is what it is. But I hate when people tell me they ran out of time, because what that means is they didn't do a practice test and time themselves, and their brain isn't used to that rhythm. So earlier we're talking about doing practice tests. The other reason you want to do practice tests too is so your brain gets comfortable with what it feels like to do 135 questions in a setting. He told me, Brian, that he ran out of time. He had 20 questions unanswered. And then he just went B.
Exactly.
And he still only missed it by a couple. I'm like, oh my God. So again, it happens. We think you're going to be able to remediate. We think you're going to redeem yourself on your second try. You've been in the cave to slay the dragon. I call it the Series 7 Dragon. You know where he lives. You almost got him. I say below 60, Kellen, it was a drive-by. You didn't even see the dragon. You got smoked. But, high 60, you got a good luck. You're going to go back into that cave, and you're taking him down. Now, this one's a tough one, Derek. Could Brian and I talk about hedging and taxation? We could. It would be, 3 hours. What I will say is that when you hear the word hedge, right? A hedge is a fence. It keeps good things in and bad things out. And so when you hear hedge, you should be thinking protection. You should think about protecting a long stock position or protecting a short stock position. So I'll give it to Brian, and we'll see how long Brian wants to spend on his whiteboard. Taxation and options is pretty straightforward. All options trading. So there's 3 things, Derek, that can happen to an option contract. It can be traded. All options trading is short term. So if you buy a call at 2, you sell it for 4, it's a $200 short term gain. If you sell it for 4, you buy it back for 2, it's a $200 short term gain. If you buy it for 4 and sell it for 2, it's a $200 loss. What else can happen to an option? It can expire. If the option contract expires, again, short term gain or loss, depending on whether you're long or short. If you actually exercise the option, for the most part, cost basis follows break even. So Brian, on your whiteboard, I call it the matrix. Brian calls it, what do you call your thing? The
aerobics.
The aerobics. It's the same. It's a way to organize your thoughts as it relates to options, right? So I'll leave it to you to discuss hedging.
Yeah, again, just like Dean said, it's difficult in this type of environment to get into too much depth. However, the quick and the short of it is, if you own the stock position, the short call, the long put are your only choices. Remember, there's 4 answer choices. You've now reduced them down to 2. And it's going to depend upon what Dean was saying, whether we want to protect that position or generate income. So again, if you're long stock, we're either going to buy the put to protect the stock or sell the call.
The way I say that, Brian, is we got to be able to do the offset, Derek. So if you bought the stock, the offset is to sell the stock. And so that means it's either the short call, covered call, or the protected put.
I always tell people, and please do not be offended. Yeah. My dad told me when I was 16, always buy protection.
Yeah, there you go. Protection costs money. So if you're trying to protect a short stock position, it's going to be a long call. Derek, I will link in the video description to my lecture on stock plus options. I have a whole 90-minute lecture that goes over that, and I will link in the replay for you. Derek, if you're still there in the chat, let me know whether you would prefer. I can link to a class replay of that discussion that's 90 minutes, or an actual lecture where you can just watch Dean do his thing. So let me know what you want, and I'll link to that in the video description. Do you have videos for the 65? Come on. Come on. Yeah, of course. I have 3 practice playlists for the 65. The first playlist is lectures. The second playlist is practice test and practice questions. And the third playlist is a podcast series that Brian and I did together. It was a collaboration of the guru, myself, and the test geek, Brian. And I'll link Luis to that podcast series. Listen to the gym on the road, whatever. I think it's pretty good. People find it helpful. So I have 3 playlists. They're in suggested watch order. And in each of those playlists, I probably have, 100 and something videos on 65. By the way, that's the other reason you might want to buy Brian's videos, because he makes editorial decisions for you. I don't. Right? I have 1,000 hours of video content, so you might want to pay Brian to just get the videos that include what you need to know. Anyways, hi, Dean and Brian. Trish Pastor 66. Woohoo! Stay with what you know. That's Brian's mantra. Stay with what you know.
Now you got to
I love it. The other one, Trish, I love is Brian says. I'll let Brian say it. What's your other one, Brian?
You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
Right on. Go down there with that kick-ass attitude, right? Like, I joked, and Devon was in class today, Brian. I told you this is we have somebody participating. His name is Holden, and Holden is putting question marks, and he's always right when he puts the question mark. I mean, you can tell he's done his homework. But I said, Holden, stop putting question marks. I want you every time in chat, when you're going to use a question mark, put an exclamation point. I will know that it's really a question mark. But I want you to use exclamation points because that's where you need to be. You want to, you don't want to say you know it, right? Even if you don't, go down in flames. Go down in flames. Yeah, I always think it's great to come to our live stream and just, talk to other test takers in similar situations, right? I had somebody today in social media. I didn't get a chance to get back to him because I was teaching, but he was struggling, and I said struggling mentally and emotionally. And I'm apologizing when I get to him, but I was going to say, hey, join us on Tuesday, man. I think it's tough to try and do this all on your own. In the old days, before COVID, most of us would be in the office with another cohort of people doing what we're doing, and we could have lunch together or go have a cocktail. And now most of it's remote, and sometimes that can be difficult. Hello, Stephanie. Thank you. There you go. I love it. Good energy going back and forth. Denise, thanks for joining us on LinkedIn. Like I said, we broadcast to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. And I always like to see people from LinkedIn and Facebook because it's not really a platform. I probably should do more on LinkedIn and Facebook. Right on, Nico, killing it. By the way, though, Nico, the problem now is you've set expectations. People are going to, be thinking, okay. By the way, on that practice test, you're the new Lauren. Lauren Brian is somebody who did the first shared screen practice funnel that we put up. And the producer and me is going, come on, Lauren, you got to move a little quicker here. Nobody's going to want to watch us for 4 hours, Anyways, we put that up, and I can't tell you how many people asked, oh, did Lauren pass? I go, of course she passed. Yeah. And then Nico, I had a couple of comments, I think it's 2 comments so far, like, did Nico pass? I said, of course he passed. Of course. You just saw him tear this thing up. I'm taking the 63 next Saturday, March 2nd. All right. So then you good test vibes. You're welcome. Brian and I both get a great deal of gratification when we contribute to helping you make your mark. And that P, as Brian calls it, right? So you are most welcome. All right. Few weeks. Okay. So you got some time. Right on this afternoon. Fresh off the playing field with a victory. Woo woo.
Edward, my man. There's Edward. Never had any doubts, pal.
Yeah, love it. I love it. So if you're taking your 65, victorious test taker in the house. Many people I've spoken to, this is Michelle's, have said that they thought the 66 was significantly harder than the 7. I think it's one of those things. Some people think not. Some people think do. Everybody's different. Do you know what is that might make this more challenging than the 7, Brian? I think the legalese, the portfolio stuff. What's your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, we did an entire podcast on this particular topic, didn't we?
We did. So, Michelle, I will link to another joint venture we did. Brian and I collaborated on a 66 podcast. And I will link to that in the video description as well.
Michelle, we answered this comment right off the bat. Is this thing harder than the 7?
Yeah.
In a word, kind of, yeah.
Michelle, let me know. Let me know in the chat. Would you prefer that I link in the video description to the entire podcast series or just that particular episode? Let me know. I think I said to somebody else the same thing. Let me know what you prefer. As the video descriptions, when things like the hedging, when we can't take care of things in this format, whether it's Brian's definitional video, another one he's got for 24 that people love. I swear this is just shocking to me, but he's got a little video on YouTube for free about buy-ins and sellouts. And when people are struggling with it, I send them that video, and then they come back and go, "Oh my God, Dean! Oh!" It's like a miraculous. So just let me know if you want the whole link to the whole series or just a particular episode. I read a post somewhere. The margins are on the test. Mitchell, this drives me nuts. So there's a guy on social media, Brian. The vast majority test questions, standard deviation. There isn't much variance in what people report on seeing on margin questions. No. Mitchell, had somebody test just yesterday. I felt bad. He paid me $225 for an hour to do margin. And I said, I feel bad. It's your money. You're long the tutoring session. You did an opening purchase. We'll talk about whatever you want. But I feel like we could be spending this time elsewhere. But I want you to be comfortable. Anyways, he had one question. The guy I saw, Mitchell, said, I don't know if you're reading the same thread as I'm reading, that he had more margin questions than options. So, Mitchell, I will say what I wouldn't say to him. Bullshit. I don't believe it. I think that people who think that, it's because whatever they're not comfortable with. So there's no way you're getting more margin questions than you're getting option questions.
No way.
Brian thinks that you get less option questions than I think. I think about 20, but I don't think you'll find anybody who talks to hundreds of test takers every day that would tell you there's more margin. Now, Mitchell, what I do think is that people who are not comfortable with something, it registers on their brain, and he may truly believe that he got more margin questions than option questions. I don't believe it. So do you know what they're referring to? I do not. I think it's like going into the cave to slay the dragon. I'd like to know his score, Mitchell. The other thing is, remember I mentioned this, it's a drive-by. I think somebody who says that didn't get a good look at the Series 7 Dragon. They got smoked before they actually knew what was going on. So now we don't know which 3 to 5 Brian put up on his whiteboard, but you definitely should know documentation, credit agreement, the hypothecation agreement, loan consent form is optional. You should definitely know 25%, 30% minimum maintenance. You should know the minimum $2,000 trick. And I know, Mitchell, you're going to not be surprised. I will link to my margin lecture. Guess what the title of that lecture is, Mitchell? The title of that lecture is Don't Overdose on Margin. So there are a couple areas where vendors can really overdose. Partnerships. Almost every vendor has way more in partnerships than is necessary. Balance sheets. Most vendors have way more on balance sheets than is necessary. And margin, right? So Devon is in my class that I'm teaching. I'm going to spend probably an hour, give or take, on margin. That's going to be sufficient for you to pass your Series 7. So I will link to that. Excuse my language. I very rarely use colorful language, but I feel okay with that one. Hey guys, I have my 65 on Friday. Are there any specific topics that you would hone in on the last few days? Well, I would say disclosures and unethical business practices is certainly a target-rich environment. What say you, Brian?
Investment vehicles.
Yeah, it's surprising, Grant. It's surprising, but I think when people miss the mark, it's almost always that, surprisingly enough.
I would also make sure you know your balance sheets. Investment vehicles. It's interesting. The averages that Dean and I see for those who don't make the mark the first time, they typically score highest in the laws and regs and lowest in the investment vehicles and the balance sheets, the business information section, which is, counterintuitive. Most people wouldn't.
Yeah, it is. It's always surprising. I will link, Grant, to my balance sheet. I have a balance sheet lecture, and I'll link that to you for you. So
I have a free one on YouTube too.
There you go. I'll link to Brian's as well. So Brian has one as well. So I'll link to both those. I failed 66 on my first try. I did really bad on investment vehicles. There we go. I watched the video you have, and I'm still a bit nervous besides Brian's paid supplements. Advice on what else to use for this section? Well, you got Brian, you got myself. I don't know if you're using Kaplan or Past Perfect or STC, but you can buy the Kaplan QBank. I highly recommend it as a paid supplement if you already don't have the Kaplan QBank. I'm not sure what it is for 66. My guess is $40-50. The 7 is $55. So if you use the Guru 20 discount code or 15 at Kaplan, you get 15% off. So if you don't have the Kaplan QBank as a paid supplement, get it. Yeah, Brian?
If I may add to this, I think, again, because as we just mentioned, this is an area that people, when they don't make the mark the first time, it's investment vehicles. And I'm thinking, how can this be when someone just passed the Series 7? It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Except when you start kind of getting into the content of that area, you see that there are several things that are not covered on the 7.
That's right.
One being the discounted cash flow. I have a free YouTube video on that. That's
excellent.
The best one. And the insurance products, the life insurance products. I have a little chart for that too.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of things right there that you can probably boost that investment.
That's right. It is. There's a lot more modern portfolio analytical method stuff in that. All right, Sherry, thanks for joining us from Facebook. We love it. I think I did see your victory post on Facebook. There is a Facebook group. I forget, Sherry, if you could put it in the chat, that would be great. I think it's Lonnie is the moderator. I want to say it's SIE Series 6 65. It's kind of a mouthful. But it's a nice group. There's a lot of people there that are passing. And I think, Sherry, I saw you with your victory post on that group. So kudos. Oh, well, gee, forgot. Can you speak on LIFO and FIFO? Well, Belinda, I would need to know in what circumstance are you asking? Are you asking about LIFO as it applies to variable annuities? Are you asking about FIFO as it applies to either using average cost or share identification? Are you asking about FIFO as it relates to exercise notices and options? Are you asking about inventory valuation? Belinda, I do have a video, no surprise, now that I did that little promo, called LIFO or FIFO. And I go through all the LIFOs and FIFOs found on the exam. I'm guessing, well, let's put it this way. I'll start by saying what I think is the most important LIFO concept as it's on the test, 65, 66, 7, 6, all of them. And it's variable annuities. In a variable annuity, when you take a distribution from a variable annuity, very testable. It's going to be last money's in, first money out. I would always joke with you, if you have a tax question trying to figure out what you should answer, you answer what yields the most to the U.S. Treasury. FIFO, I'm not sure I would call this the most testable FIFO, but if you've been buying shares over several time periods, you would like to be able to do share identification and sell the shares that you have the highest cost basis on, because that would be the lowest tax. But if you can't do that, then the IRS imposes upon you FIFO, first shares you bought or first shares you're selling. So that's my speaking briefly on LIFO and FIFO. I think far and away the biggest test issue is LIFO as it applies to non-qualified retirement plans known as variable annuities. What say you, Brian?
YouTube video. If this is Series 7, I have a little basic tax primer, including LIFO and FIFO.
I will link to that for you, Belinda. So Brian has a lot of free content as well. And then I have a little one just called LIFO, FIFO. Yeah. Keep it simple.
That's hey.
Yeah, I love it.
It's simple.
Right. The KISS principle, right?
Yeah.
I think, Brian, he says instead of keep it simple, he says, keep it simple, Seattle. Is that your version of it?
That's what I do, yeah.
Hello, I work for a firm. Oh, great. That means you got sponsored. I'm a service associate, mainly admin. I have basic knowledge of the industry. Great. My goal is to be licensed as an advisor in 65. Currently reading the Kaplan book, 10th edition. Any advice? I think you're doing the right thing. Read the book. I think every test taker should start by reading the book cover to cover to kind of see what it's all about. I wouldn't be taking any notes. I'm assuming, I don't know, I apologize if I'm putting an accent on your Desiree. Maybe it's not Desiree, maybe it's Desire, but read the book. Once you get the book done, I hope that you have a study program of some sort, whether it's Kaplan or STC or, Past Perfect. And once you read the book, then I would start watching videos and doing some practice tests. And what you should do is do like Unit 1, then do Unit 2, Unit 3, and then combine them. So there's Brian's textbook. There you go. Brian, I just gave you the board.
Yeah, textbook practice questions. Just like Dean said, I use this little inverted pyramid. Unit 1, 10 to 15 practice questions. Unit 2, 10 to 15 questions. And periodically, as you're going through those units, you also want to do a custom quiz that includes all prior units to help retain and remember that stuff as you're going through 10, 12, 15 units. Mm-hmm. That's the inverted pyramid. That's the slog, the part that everybody hates doing.
And sometimes they don't do it, and then it bites them in the butt.
Yeah, that's right. And it's critical. It really does. It lays the foundation. And then Dean, his videos, my videos, as we mentioned, we turn mashed potatoes into premium vodka. We concentrate, we distill the information to what you most likely need for the test. And then evaluate and remediate. There you go.
Right on. Scare, well, you can't, Dan, you got to be careful. I mean, you can't let the scare being scared, as I said, you got to go back into the cave and you got to slay the dragon. He's there. He's waiting. You've seen him. So, I wish that I don't know what I can do. If I had a magic pill you could take to, get yourself in the right psyche, I would be a millionaire. So I think I would say that the more work you do and the more confident you can become, the less scared you hopefully will be. Right. I don't know if Nico's still around, but boy, to talk about Nico's improvement. I mean, I just knew he was going to slay that dragon. And you could even tell from him, emanating from him, that confidence that he lacked in his, first part of his study effort. So, Daniel, I don't know when you're taking it the third time. I would tell you, you got to make it a date certain. So I hope you're not scared to even set your date, because that's bad. You got to have a date, and then you know your date with with destiny, and then your brain will start drawing you there. So get out of that. What are you going to do to get out of that state of mind? I don't know, Brian. Do you have any scaredy
Yeah,
cat
you
things?
got to get that test date out there. And again, if you haven't, I don't know how much resource they've used, but make sure you get Dean and/or my video course, because again, it just makes it so much more.
I see Daniel. I do see Daniel's active on the channel, so I try and respond, Daniel. I know when you have questions, I try and respond. So I know you're working. Again, whether it's being scared or burnout or whatever, please know this community is for you. Don't disappear on us. Keep coming every Tuesday, Daniel. Keep putting in the chat, I'm scared. We'll keep trying to buck you up in the best way we can, knowing that we're not psychologists or therapists, but we can help you with the test. So just stay in touch. Stay in touch. If you have somebody else besides our Tuesday, I really think, if you can get a study buddy, maybe join a study group in that Facebook group, that you can go find a study group to join. I highly recommend that. Just make sure it's productive. I mean, I had to tell one person, get out of that study group. It's not doing you any good. But for the most part, that might be another solution. Hi, Yeti. Good to see you as well. Can you explain the difference between exempt transactions and securities? We certainly can. And when does that exemption apply? Thanks for joining us from Facebook. Brian, there you go.
No, I was going to say, you start off, Dean, because
okay. I like to think of it. So I'll start off. So Sarah, I like to think of exempt securities as a noun, a list. And I like to think of exempt transactions as a verb.
Yeah.
It's the way I'm selling it that makes it exempt. It wouldn't otherwise be exempt, because the way I'm selling it is exempt. And then exempt securities. Now, Brian has a neat trick that I like. And Brian says what he likes to use when he hears exempt securities, he likes to do the opposite. When he hears non-exempt, say it's a corporate security.
Yeah.
So exempt transactions are how we're selling it. Exempt securities are people who don't have to register, primarily the U.S. government, municipalities, those kind of folks. All right. So Brian, there you go. Brian's got his whiteboard going.
Yeah, that is the greatest way I think, to remember these things. Those are nouns. Those are verbs. That just encapsulates everything, right? These are the securities, and these are special situations that allow for the sale of an unregistered security. Okay, so that's actually an action, right? A verb.
I think, Sarah, when I think of unsolicited transaction, I think of TD Ameritrade. TD Ameritrade allows, one of the few firms that allows, now they're merging with Schwab, so maybe it'll change, but they allow their customers to buy penny stocks through TD Ameritrade. And the reason they don't have to worry about it, because it's an unsolicited transaction. That's the customer doing it. It ain't TD Ameritrade. Right. Private placements. And then I like Brian's, one thing Brian makes a big point. People take exception to this, Brian, on your practice test. Brian has a question where the security is exempt, but he's not asking you about the security. He's asking you about the agent who's selling it.
Yes.
And oh my God, I get so many people. Oh, this is an exempt transaction. I go, that's not what he asked you. He didn't ask you that. He asked about the agent of the broker dealer. And there's no circumstance, Sarah, when the agent of the broker dealer isn't registered, regardless of what they're doing, right? So we'll link to a video. We do have videos. I have a video on this exempt transaction securities. I'll link to that for you. A link that would be, I would like a link to the episode. Okay, cool. I will do that. Thanks for shining a light on that one. I had me confused. All right, cool. I had 2 to 3 last takes. So Tosh, thank you so much. So Mitchell Tosh is confirming that there's 2 to 3 margin questions, right? That there's not, every once in a while, I think probably every 4 months, Brian, somebody on social media shows up and says, I had a gazillion margin questions.
Or they'll say I only had 2 option questions, right?
Well, there you go. And the other thing I would tell you, Mitchell, is go print the SEC, the Series 7 content outline. And that whole area that includes types of orders and margins is in total 14 questions.
Right.
So there can't be more than that because it's in that category. So that would be the other thing I'd tell you. 66. I have a couple of questions. How do you know how broad and specific you should focus on each section? I would go, Sarah, and get the test specifications on the NASA website. They have test specifications. They have a study guide. And Brian and I go through that in our collaborative podcast. So get that. It tells you exactly how many questions. When people say, well, how do you know that's on the test? I said, well, if it's not in the test specifications, they're not allowed to ask it. Now, if you bought Brian's supplement, perfect. Brian actually does that as part of his supplement. I think, Brian, you actually have that document, don't you? And use that as your format.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and the same documents that are on the website are included in the video.
There you go.
If you need a little adjustment, let me know.
Okay, there you go. So, Sarah, that's how we tell you to do it. But again, I would tell you, if you brought Brian's supplement, you don't need to worry about that. Really, because he wouldn't have anything in the video, in the PDF that isn't testable. And you can trust, I sound like I'm a shill for Brian. I'm not, but you can trust that he would comment on what specificity you need. Right?
It's an excellent question. It really is.
How do they ask it? Brian,
it's so broad, right?
Yeah.
And then what's so narrow?
What's your broad? How is it tested? You get that thing that you.
That's right. What's on the test? How it most likely shows up on the test, and how you should answer it on the test.
Yeah. So Sarah,
make sure you understand we're doing the core content.
Yeah.
The 90% of content that everybody gets and has gotten for the last 25 years.
Yeah. And so, Sarah, I would just tell you that that's the reason to get the paid supplement, right? To confirm what is testable. I think it's a much more difficult thing if you don't have a supplement.
The premium vodka tastes so good.
Looks like we're getting close to the drawing. So let's see what else we got here. Saturday, majority suitability. Benita, make sure you got customer accounts, mutual funds, variable annuities. I would add communications. Would you add that, Brian?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
So 2 months, second time, how do I know I'm ready? Practice tests. Getting a mark, seeing where you're at. So, Daniel, I'd want you to be in the mid-70s.
Yeah.
How do I know? So there you go. So that's exactly right. 70s, 80s on the test is what we practice tests. That's what we want. Scoring, again, I think you should be scoring 75, mid-70s. Stepped out of the test. All right. Woohoo. A hot victory right out of the test site. Love it. Thanks so much for joining us and sharing your victory.
Wow.
We love it when you circle back. It's so good for morale, particularly, look at this. Failed twice. Went in that cave. There you go. So, Daniel, there you go. Somebody in a similar situation. They went like you into the cave. The dragon got them twice. Third time, they slayed that Series 7 dragon. All right. Thank you so much for popping in and lifting our spirits. Wow, that's wonderful. Kept watching and rewatching Dean's videos. Well, listen, thank you so much. Can you believe this, Brian? I didn't know I had haters until I got on social media.
Yeah, no kidding.
But now I have haters, and one of them that accused me, Brian, of not being able to keep people's attention for more than 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I felt like saying, okay, well, my Google Analytics show that I have 800,000 hours of watch time. So I don't know if that's one person watching the same video 800,000 times, but I appreciate your watch time. So thank you so much for watching. I come into your life for a reason and a season. The reason is to help you pass your exams. The season is how long. She also, or he, bought Brian's practice test and the options deck. Love it. Love it. We appreciate you as well. Thank you so much. Right on. I love it. Get that date, Daniel, and you just keep coming. We're going to help you, man. We're going to pull you across the finish line for sure. So you just get that date. You keep showing up Tuesday. Nico knows I am very expensive as a tutor, but if somebody's making the effort, I'll meet you halfway and I'll try and make sure that we can work with you. Got Brian's cheat sheet. Testing 66. Going to purchase the videos. Go for it. Now you need it. It's great. Okay, I think it's time for the drawing. You had issues with alpha and beta. Alpha is excess return over beta. We do have videos on that. We'll share that with you. Listen to Pass the Test 60 Minutes. I have them for every video. They're very popular. Brian, my SIE in 60 Minutes has 130,000 views. Can you believe that? That's crazy. All right. So subscribing now. Thanks, James. Nico, the Knights. Knights, okay. Knights it is. I think Nico says
Slaying the dragon.
that our thing should be choose the live stream. If you want to participate in the drawing, you would put Knights into the chat. And I'll go get the screen. Share a screen. Window. There we go. Knights. And let's put that full screen. Boom. And let me get rid of that James Johnson there. Where's that at? There we go. Boom. And then remember, if you do win, you need to claim that with an email to me within 1 hour of the drawing. All right. So we got 9, 10. Anybody else want to participate? It's a 30-minute coaching call for any exam, FINRA or NASA. We can do practice questions. We can do a whiteboard. We can do some slides, whatever it is that speaks to you. You don't have to, but it's easier if you give me an agenda what you want to talk about, because, but, we can just show up and you can do it. And then remember it'll be Friday at 3 p.m. Okay, it looks like that's it. Any more? All right, going once, going twice. All right, here we go. Benita is the winner. Woo! Kudos, Benita. So send me an email, Dean the Series 7 Guru at gmail.com to claim your winnings. As they say in roulette, to color out.
Dean, I've created a monster.
You created a monster. You did indeed. All right, everybody. Remember, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. Yard by yard, your exam is hard. And as you say, Brian,
I get to say it twice tonight. Keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
All right, everybody. See you next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Vegas time. Bye-bye.